Hello everyone, this is Padmanabh Reddy and welcome to Lit Critique. India had great poets who wrote in English, starting from the likes of Henry Vivian Derozio and Bankim Chandra Chattopadhyay. And these are the writers we study mostly in the post-colonial literature and the post-colonial critiques as well. But when we think about the modern Indian poetry, one name that comes to our mind is Nissim Ezekiel. Nissim Ezekiel was born into a bourgeois middle-class Jewish family in Mumbai. So his community was called as Bnei Israel. These were the Jews who settled in India centuries ago. And before independence, there were 20,000 in number. But after independence, when the state of Israel was created, many of them left for Israel. But this man, Nissim Ezekiel, he stayed back in India. And with his poetries, he repeatedly told that he was very much Indian, very much Indian, and his poetries are too good that we can't help but look into the spiritual aspects of it. All of Nissim Ezekiel's education was in English. He studied English literature from Wilson College in Mumbai. He did his masters from there as well. He topped his college, and after his life as a student, he worked as a professor in various institutes all around the world. He went to England. He wrote many poems over there. He went to America. He taught over there, and when he was working with University of Mumbai, as well as when he was when he was on the board of Sahitya Akademi as well, when he was working with them as well, he went around the globe to give many guest lectures. And this man was too good with his writings that his writings were so critically acclaimed. And in Indian writing in English, we study him really critically, and many of us know him by his poem The Night of the Scorpion. But one of his most important poems that many of us miss is The Enterprise. And Enterprise compels us into looking into the spiritual aspects of Nissim Ezekiel's poetry. And if you look at Enterprise closely, it shows us a futility of life, and it shows us Nissim Ezekiel's vision as a spiritual person, as a spiritual guide to us, as a poet being a spiritual guide to all the readers that we are. For his literary prowess, he was awarded Padma Shri by the Indian government, and also he was awarded the Sahitya Akademi Award. These two are just enough to introduce us how good a writer that he was. And in this poem, The Enterprise, he looks into the spiritual aspect. As I just said, this poem is about a few travelers who go to a pilgrimage and realize the futilities of life that are presented in between the pilgrimage. And it is more about the journey. It is more about the journey and also the destination. Now we get to see the futility, the irony, and also the satire that this man is putting into. It started as a pilgrimage, exalting minds and making all the burdens light. The second stage explored but did not test the call. The sun beat down to match our rage. This poem is filled with metaphors, and this poem is a metaphorical poem as well. But before looking into the details and the meaning of all these lines, let us look into the technicalities of this poem. This poem has rhyme as well as it has a meter to it. If you look carefully, the words pilgrimage and stage, they do rhyme, and call and all. So these words also rhyme as well. So just look into the rhythmic pattern that this man, Nissim Ezekiel, has set this poem in. And also this poem is written in iambic tetrameter. So what is an iambic tetrameter now? Iamb is a metrical foot consisting of a short syllable and a long syllable. So now what is a syllable? Syllable is the shortest and the lowest part of any word. That is, you can just imagine a syllable as a sound. But now we'll not get into every single excruciating detail about what is a syllable and what is exactly a meter and all. We'll take all of that in a different video. But for this, just remember that iamb is a combination of a short syllable and a long syllable. And if in a line there are 4 iambs, that is 8 syllables, then it becomes iambic tetrameter. If we look at the first line of the poem, it is written, it started as a pilgrimage. So how can we tell that this line is written in iambic tetrameter? So I can read this line in 2 ways. The first way I can read it as it started as a pilgrimage. The second way I can read it started as a pilgrimage. It started as a pilgrimage. So you can see you have 4 feet over here, 4 iambic feet. So when you have 4 iambic feet with you in a line, that becomes an iambic tetrameter, and the whole poem is written in iambic tetrameter, but there are irregularities here and there, but let us not get into that excruciating detail to look into every single irregularity, but most of the poem is written in iambic tetrameter. In the first line itself, the poet tells that it started as a pilgrimage. So what does that mean exactly? He is not just telling metaphorically in the poem that it started to me, these people, what he created as fiction, these people, it started as a pilgrimage, but he's telling to us that life itself metaphorically is a journey, is a long journey in the pursuit of truth, and we will see how he juxtaposes the whole thing in the end. But let us wait till the end how he tells that. But now he tells that okay, these are a few people, and these guys are going to a pilgrimage, and at the start they are with whole amount of enthusiasm. They have a lot of willpower to go. They don't even care about any obstacles that come in the way. In the second, the poet tells that in the second stage, what happens is nature tries to put some obstacles, but he tells that life didn't test them that hardly. But at the same time, Nissim Ezekiel talks about the scorching sun over here, the burning sun over here. What does a burning sun symbolize over here? It symbolizes nature. It symbolizes nature's wrath over here. So whatever human ambitions are, how hard you try to put them on nature, nature gives it back. Now here the sun itself has a lot of symbols. It has a lot of things to tell to us over here. Sun is a symbol of light. So sun is an entity that provides light to us for us to follow the journey, for us to walk in the correct path of the journey. But that sun itself can be so dangerous that it could burn everyone down. But these guys, they weren't even concerned about that. These guys are like those people who just started a project, who are really enthusiastic and really willpowered that nothing could stop them. Okay, nobody can stop me. I'll go on to this journey. I'll face any obstacle that comes in between. So these guys are like that. We have to remember that this is a starting stage of pilgrimage, and as the lines go by, we'll just realize the futility of everything over here, and the futility of these people going to the pilgrimage itself. But in the first 5 lines, it's just about these people being so enthusiastic, so vigorous that they have this prospect of going to a pilgrimage, and they are walking. Okay, I'll face any kind of obstacle that comes in between. Let it be the scorching sun, let it be the winds, let it be the waters. I don't care about anything. I will go to this pilgrimage. So these guys are too enthusiastic about everything now. We stood it very well, I thought, observed and put down copious notes on things the peasants sold and bought, the way of serpents and of goats, 3 cities where a sage had taught. Here we see many people getting distracted from their main mission and wasting their time on different things which are not even required for this pilgrimage. But just look into Nissim Ezekiel's genius over here. He tells that many of these people were taking notes from peasants who are in the ways of serpents or goats. So now here these both serpent and goat. So this has a good symbol over here. Serpent literally means wicked, and goat means like really good. So there are good people as well as bad people, and these people are just taking notes from them. And these copious notes might also refer to the Talmud, which is the Jewish religious text as well. So many scholars have pointed out that this might be also a possibility. Also, many of these guys, what they did is they took notes on these cities without concerning themselves with a sage, what that sage taught them. And Nissim Ezekiel mentions that a sage who taught in 3 cities, but this is now really open to interpretation. What these 3 cities might be? Are those the 3 Abrahamic religions that originated in the Middle East? Are they a different school of thought? Are they totally a different thing altogether? This is all open to interpretation, and this is where we get Nissim Ezekiel's genius, that this poem can be totally interpreted in different way altogether. And just look at all these people, now they are getting distracted. It is like those people who just started a project, that okay, we will now just do this. We are too invigorated with all the vigor that we have inside. We are too motivated to do it, but now as a time progresses, these guys are now getting distracted. And this is where we get to learn a lesson from this poem as well. Although we might start like with a really good tone, but there is still a possibility of you getting sidetracked, and this shouldn't happen. And with the three cities and a sage, he's trying to tell that focus on the main message. Don't look at the surface things. As Plato also mentions in the Republic, that beauty is totally different from a beautiful body. So if you only look at beautiful body, that won't help you at all. You have to look at beauty, because beauty doesn't fade away. Beautiful body might fade away, but beauty won't fade away at all. So if you look at only the surface area, you won't be able to find truth. One of the main purposes of this pilgrimage itself is to find truth, and these guys are totally getting deviated from truth. And this is one of the greatest lessons that we can learn from the enterprise, is never get distracted or never get sidetracked from your own motives, from the main motive of what you're doing. But when the differences arose on how to cross a desert patch, we lost a friend whose stylish prose was quite the best of all our batch. A shadow falls on us and grows. As these people journeyed ahead, they had to cross a desert patch, and these guys were totally discussing, and some of these members didn't accept to each other's ideas and all. Now a rift happened, and one of the most intelligent guys, who was the best prose writers, he left the group. Now just see the irony over here. Eventually, even the most intelligent person of the group, he left because of his ego. Now these people are just fighting on trivial matters. They are getting egoistic. They are totally now deviated from their main purpose of finding truth and going on a pilgrimage. Just imagine, just to cross a desert patch, people are getting egoistic over here. Even here we get to learn a great lesson from Ezekiel, that you might be a great intelligent person, you might be a smartest person in the group, but if you still have ego in you, that would literally kill you. That would totally take you away from your original motive that you started. This man could have reconciled his differences between himself and the group, but he chose an easy way out and he came out of the group. Now this group doesn't have the same integrity that it had in the starting, that we will face any kind of challenge, we won't fear anyone, we would complete our journey, we would find truth and all. So all those vigor, all those compassion, all those passion in themselves is now getting totally deviated. These guys are getting into egos, these guys are fighting on trivial matters, and now the most intelligent person of the group, who had the best shot at reconciling with everyone, but he chose an easy way out. Just think about Ezekiel's genius over here. He's telling even in real life this can happen, and from this poem you can learn that okay, you have to pluck out your ego. You might be the smartest person, but if you don't pluck it out, you will just fail. You won't be on the same motive that you started. Now this is a genius of Ezekiel. This poem can be interpreted in many ways. Now we can also interpret it on the basis of religion. How religion plays a major role when forefathers, they come and they start an ideal society, and then the people who come after them, they start fighting on trivial matters and totally jeopardize the whole movement as a whole. So this can be read in that way as well. This can be read in a way that how our senses do work. This can be read in a way how a group project works. This can also be read in a way how life actually works, how the journey of life actually unfolds. Another phase was reached when we were twice attacked and lost our way. A section claimed its liberty to leave the group. I tried to pray. Our leader said he smelled the sea. The poet describes about the hindrances that were caused to them while they were going to this pilgrimage. He tells that they were attacked twice by people. So now here it is really ambiguous whether he's talking about an external force or an internal force. Now this is totally ambiguous. And he tells that after all this happened, then a section of the people, they broke away and they said that now they are independent. Now we are liberated from you. So we will go in a different manner. The poet here is totally helpless. He is just praying to God, okay, let the good happen, but now he is totally helpless. He can't now reconcile everyone, because these guys are totally deviated from their path. And now again, this is the beauty of Ezekiel. This can be interpreted in many manners. As I just said earlier, when we look at a religious point, I get an idea of the Christian schisms that happened in the early days of Christianity in the Roman Empire, when Constantine the First called the Council of Nicaea to decide the canon. So there were many disputes all around. So there were an insider tradings going on. So there were a lot of things, and the Eastern Schism broke out from the Western Schism. So many things happened even in Christianity. So this can be interpreted in that way as well. So our forefathers come and they set up a ideal world, and they set up an ideal rules that we have to follow. And now just because they don't have good leadership, or they fight among themselves, they totally go in a different manner. They totally get deviated from the path. It can be of many reasons. There can be a leadership crisis. There can be infighting in between. That exactly again gets back to the leadership crisis point. But when we look at all of these things, humans fight humans the most. So this is the end line that Ezekiel wants to talk about, that humans fight humans, and this is the reason that we don't get to this main motive of finding the truth. We don't get to that position that we collectively walk together and find truth. We don't get there because we are just busy fighting. We noticed nothing as we went, a straggling crowd of little hope, ignoring what the thunder meant, deprived of common needs like soap. Some were broken, some merely bent. Before looking at these lines, let us look into the 20th line first. The 20th line tells that our leaders smelt the sea. So this is a beauty of Ezekiel. This can be interpreted in multiple ways. So one way it can be interpreted as it has a sea of knowledge. So he's telling, okay, I am the leader. So there is this sea of knowledge ahead. So let me take you there, so that we can find enormous amount of knowledge, and so that we can find our truth. That is the original motive of the pilgrimage. The second interpretation would be he smelled the sea. That means a sea of nothingness. So a sea would mean a vast unknown territory that they don't know itself. So now just look at that with the first interpretation, with the sea of knowledge. So if he's telling the sea of knowledge, and if we look at the later lines, we are told that they found nothing. So even though these guys, they already lost their faith, their hope and all, but they were still determined to complete this journey. And although they were walking ahead, but they couldn't find anything. So this is a false hope that was given to them by the leader. So at this point, it is all useless now. This is the futility of this whole pilgrimage. These people, unlike earlier, when they were totally determined about what their goal is, what their whole purpose is of this pilgrimage, now these people are like aimless wanderers, moving across the lands. They don't know what to do, and they're totally tired. They are robbed of their basic amenities like soap. Now here, soap is not to be taken as a literal meaning for soap. It is a metaphor. So this whole poem is a metaphorical poem as a whole. So now when we look at soap, so this tells us that their whole idea of faith, their whole idea of hope, and their whole idea of the this pilgrimage, this purpose of finding the truth is now gone. So they are totally aimless now. They're totally aimless walking through the land. So now just look how Nissim Ezekiel is juxtaposing these people from the first stanza. The first stanza, they were like totally envigored with all the passion and all to go to this pilgrimage and find truth. But now they're totally aimless people now. They don't have any aim. They don't have a good leadership. Now this leader, he is giving false promises. He is giving false hopes to them, and now they're totally without an aim. When finally we reached the place, we hardly know why we were there. The trip had darkened every face. Our deeds were neither great nor rare. Home is where we have to gather grace. In this final stanza, Ezekiel tells that all these people who went through this pilgrimage, they have now reached the destination, and thus they have completed this pilgrimage. But now they have started to question the importance of this pilgrimage, because the whole journey just brought them frustration. It brought nothing else. They have lost their faith. They have lost their hope. They didn't get the truth that they were seeking. So they start to feel that, okay, this journey, they are not the first people to take this journey. They have been people who took this journey earlier, and there will be people who will take this journey also after them. So they haven't done something that will be etched in the history books. They have done nothing like that, and now they have now started to question the whole importance of this, and we get to see the whole futility of this pilgrimage as a whole. So the last line, home is where we have to find grace. So this line is a beauty. This line is a beautiful line. This is where we get to see Ezekiel's true genius. This can be interpreted in many ways, as is every line in this poem. So one way to interpret this is that home literally means our inner self, and we have to embrace our inner self to know the truth. But another way to interpret this is Ezekiel's idea of poetry is that he sits alone, and words come to him. He doesn't go to words. Words come to him, and then he writes a poem. A poet sits down, and the words come to the poet. So with that logic, and again we can deduce that okay, we have to sit in our home. And it is better if we wait for truth to come to ourselves, rather than we going to venture out and try to find truth. So and again, there are many ways other than these two things that we can interpret the final line. This is the beauty of Ezekiel that we find in Enterprise, and also not only Enterprise, in many other poems as a whole. So the whole poem as a whole, we can find it as a didactic poem. That literally means a poem which can be taught to inculcate moral values in us. It teaches many things that we have to learn, that we have to remove ego from us, as well as we have to remove all the negative influences that surround us, as well as we shouldn't again deviate from the path that we started. Ezekiel's poetry can be debated as the starting of the phenomenon called as a modern Indian poetry, which later writers like Meena Kadaswamy and many other writers also embraced. So this man totally focused on spirituality, and this poem Enterprise, this has a lot of irony. Enterprise literally means to start something new, to start out a new venture. But again, the whole irony of this poem, that is that they are starting out on a journey which has been taken by many people. These people have thought that they are taking out a new journey, they are taking out a unique journey, but that journey has been taken by many people. And with also not only the Enterprise, many other poems by Nissim Ezekiel, like The Night of the Scorpion and many other poems, he is really brilliant with all the metaphors, all the symbols, and all the ironies, as well as the spirituality in his poetry. If you like this video, please don't hesitate to leave a like, and if you have any doubts, please do put them in the comment box down below. I'll be reading all your doubts. I'll be clearing all of them as well. And also please do follow all the social media handles of Lit Critique. I've given them in the description box down below. And also please don't forget to subscribe to Lit Critique. This is Padmanabh Reddy from Lit Critique signing off. Bye bye.